Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast, the Project Investigation Collaboration, brought to you by the Veritas Project. And as always, we are here with our gracious host, the founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Curtis.
Hello.
And I am lead investigator, Investigator Todd Boyer. And hi, and welcome everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
You seem a little tired today.
Yeah, I'm run down.
Run down. Yeah, you've been working hard, man. You've been working on the house and all that good stuff. And
grandfather passed away this week, so
yeah, that makes for a rough week for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why we didn't have a Monday.
A
Monday live. Bob's grandpa passed away, and he was taking care of all that stuff. So it's been a busy man.
Yeah.
So
we got a lot of stuff going on in current events this week.
Okay.
There was a big solar storm that the media is not covering at all.
Really?
And Puerto Rico got blasted by an EMF storm from the sun, and their power is completely out in the entire island.
Wow.
And one of their overload transformers that's supposed to handle the grid power, like if there's back feed or front feed or however, is completely annihilated.
Alrighty.
So their whole grid transformer that was designed to surge capacity, it exploded and caught fire.
Wow.
And the power is out on the entire island, and you hear none of it on the news at all.
That's wild.
So that should be frightening.
Because they don't want us to know that it could happen to us.
You should be scared. You should be frightened that a solar storm destroyed all of the power in Puerto Rico, because just a little bit north of that is Florida.
Yep.
And if that same thing happened to Miami, it would be bedlam down there.
Yep.
So, and then the second news flash we have is, remember last week I said that the government shouldn't be allowed to have the UFO dog whistle because they would use it. Well, guess what? They updated that website for the Stargazer.
Yeah.
And now that's their main thing.
What?
They're going to call in. They have a bunch of special forces people on there now. It's all a bunch of government people in the pictures, and they're going to call in UFOs and retrieve them. So it didn't take long at all for that. Didn't take long at all for that to degenerate. Especially as I said, after being in the government for a little bit, I can tell you exactly what the government's going to do, and that's exactly what happened. Now they're going to use the dog whistle to call in UFOs and then shoot them down, and then at some point we're going to be at war with another planet. So that the government can get their greasy fingers onto a UAP, we're going to be attacked from some foreign entity.
I don't know if you heard this one, but we have a new telescope that's cranking out right now, and it's already discovered like 36 million new galaxies.
Oh, wow.
And they believe there is an alien armada on the way to Earth, traveling at light speed, could be here within the next few weeks or the next few months, according to what they're saying.
Probably because we shot down their UFOs.
Probably.
Now they're coming. Now they're mad. You're like, we come for Dave. Where is he?
Right.
We heard you guys shot down our ship. We came here to give you guys water filtration technology, and you guys shot us down. So now we're going to have to burn this planet.
Any other local news? I mean, we're bringing all the good stuff. Yeah. We got all the good news going today.
I felt vindicated by that, because when I was editing it, right, I went back to their website to see if I could pull some pictures off, and I couldn't get anything off of their website. Really? And that is a big red flag. If you can't pull any data off, it's completely locked down. And I was like, that's weird for a AI.ai page, not a .gov, to have all of its back end locked down like that. And so I went, and they were like, oh, new updates. So I was like, oh, let's see what the new updates are. And it's all special ops dudes. And it says, we are now in the UAP recovery phase. I'm like, oh my gosh. Here we go. Right? It didn't even take a week.
No. Wow.
Not even
Once again, we're ahead of the game.
Yeah. And they're in the UAP recovery business now. No longer are we going to talk to him, because that's the thing about Stephen Greer. Dr. Greer wants to communicate with the EBEs, right, the aliens, so that he can become a part of the universe,
Right, the Galactic Alliance or whatever.
Yeah. He wants to be like an ambassador for them, basically. And these people never mention him in any of their stuff, even though they're using his protocol, which was my first red flag. I was like, that's weird that you would basically take someone's entire thing and then not give them any credit for it. That seems weird.
Well, that's government for you.
Right.
So, there we go.
But now we know why.
Yep.
Because they're gonna poke the bear.
There we are, ahead of the game.
We're gonna be living through the documentary Independence Day pretty soon.
Wonderful. Maybe the solar flare wasn't a solar flare.
Yeah, it could be like their first test of something to come. But I noticed a couple weeks ago there's a page I follow on YouTube, and they monitor the sun and sunspots and everything. And he said there was a huge dark spot on the sun.
Right.
And it was in rotation to where that dark spot was going to be pointed right at Earth, and those tumblers aligned perfectly, and boom, solar flare. Puerto Rico got zapped.
So, here we are.
So, in other news... Here's dragons.
Yeah, so today's topic has been around for thousands of years. And this is a topic that Bob and I have touched on many time.
Yeah.
And we finally realized, well, we've never done a podcast.
Never actually done a show about it. We anecdotally, we talk about it a lot.
So, we are here to talk about dragons.
Dragons.
And we are going to give you proof of dragons.
Right.
And let you decide if they were actually real or not. Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of data.
There's a lot of stuff to go through.
And we're going to trim it a little. We had ChatGPT find us a lot of data. We're going to trim it a little and give you the best of each one that we found.
Right.
So, and the big one that we always talk about, that Bob and I always talk about, is the global culture of dragons.
Yeah.
Nearly every culture has dragons.
Right.
The Chinese, the Norse, the Aztecs, the Babylonians, the Egyptians. So thousands of years of culture over different parts of the world all have dragons.
And they overlap, right?
Yep.
That was one of the things.
And they overlap in similarities.
Right.
They're scaled serpents, and they breathe fire, and they fly. So it's not just a matter of each one has dragons. Each one has dragons that are the same as the other dragons.
Right.
You know?
So like, how could somebody in India describe a thing that somebody else in Scotland has an identical description of, unless that thing existed, right? Because there's no possible way that those two cultures could have had interaction. They're, on the other sides of the hemisphere, So it's an odd thing.
And like Bob said, it's so all over the place. It's South America, it's Australia, it's from Greece, it's in Slavic, it's in Hindu. I mean, Nagas, May, Dracon, however you want to put it.
Right.
It's all over the world, at different time periods all over the world, and at the same time periods all over the world. Right? I mean, so because you have a lot of it happened together, but then you have older civilizations that had it, then you have newer civilizations that had it, and it's just too widespread to be coincidence,
and too similar to be coincidence. Because it would be one thing if somebody said like there was a thing in the sky, and it would do, like Thunderbird type stuff, and then the ones in South America also have a thing in the sky that does Thunderbirds type stuff, but for the whole planet to have a mythos about a scaled flying thing is a bit extravagant. You know what I mean? Like even what's the guy in the wheelchair? The
Hawking.
Stephen Hawking would have to admit, all right, I'll give you this one. That seems a little science explains everything. Well, explain dragons. Like
right.
It probably has to be
right. So there's even dragons in the Bible. Mm-hmm. So Revelations 12:3, the great red dragon with 7 heads appears in heaven. Mm-hmm. Isaiah 27:1, Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, the dragon of the sea. Job 41 describes Leviathan, scales, fire-breathing, immense power. Psalm 74:13-14, you crush the head of the sea dragons. Revelation 20:20, Satan is called the old serpent, the dragon.
Right.
It's been around for forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in Hebrew. Tannin means dragon or sea monster, and it's in over 20 verses.
Right.
So, Daniel actually slays a dragon in Bel. It's the Leviathan, the Behemoth, may refer to existing dragon-like creatures. It's everywhere.
A lot, and it's
too coincidental.
It's too big of a coincidence. You have, like, Tartaria has a dragon on their flag, and then so does Spain, so does England. What is this thing then?
Yeah.
Because you can't say that, like, well, that's just a mythology or whatever. But then why does everyone have it?
Yep.
Why do the Chinese have dragons? Why do the Japanese have dragons? Why, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like if it was just a metaphor, or if it was just a thing, like this is, is danger or something like that, then other people would have different things. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be a universal thing like that.
And we even have, like, well-known historical figures have seen dragons. Alexander the Great reported large serpents in India. Marco Polo wrote of huge lizard dragons in China.
Right.
Roman history, mentioned dragon-like beasts. Medieval bestiaries featured dragons.
Yeah.
John of Damascus claims dragons existed and were observed. Indigenous people warned about early explorers about flying serpents.
Yep.
And even the 1500 maps were labeled with sections that say, Here be dragons.
Right. Isn't that crazy? And they say now, they're like, well, they were just telling you to be careful in these waters. Like, why wouldn't you just say caution?
Here,
right?
Yeah.
Or, something favors the caution in this region, not, here's a dragon. Right? That seems like a little bit on the nose for just a warning, right?
So, and obviously there's going to be ancient artifacts, right? So, like the Chinese statues, a lot of Chinese statues, jade statues, lifelike dragons. Babylonian Ishtar Gate features a dragon-like creature right on the gate.
Oh, yeah.
Viking ships use dragon heads, for the prows for protection. Like every culture, Mayan temples, carvings in Cambodia, Egypt and Mesopotamia. I mean, all have dragon carvings, dragon statues.
And they're all similar.
Yeah.
They all have, like, the fan type thing. They all have a long nose with snout. You know what I mean? Like, they're all very similar in design. And it seems foolish to me to think that all of these people over the centuries would have a description of a thing that never existed. Right? It seems kind of counterintuitive to say, well, they were just trying to depict danger. Like, then why this?
And one of the things that I love is no matter which culture you look at, the bodies differ, but the heads almost always look the same.
Yeah.
Like you said with the long snout, almost every culture, the dragon's face looks the same.
Yeah, like
no matter what culture it is.
The Desolation of Smog, that type of dragon, like they look like that. And then it's like, well, how some of them have like a serpent tail, or some of them have like, the hind quarters of a some sort of beast, but the head and the neck part looks identical in all of them.
So fossil evidence, possibly misclassified.
Yeah.
Chinese farmers, finding dragon bones that they classified as just, regular fossils, or, 40-foot serpent, dragon-sized titan boa fossils.
Right.
Dinosaur-like theropods resemble Western dragons. Ancient cultures interpret fossils remains of monsters. The word dinosaur didn't even exist until 1841.
Right.
So what we call dinosaurs could have been dragons.
Yeah. Well, I said prior to 1841, they called them dragons. So that was just their type, that if they found a hooded, Cretaceous dinosaur, they just, that was a dragon.
That was dragon.
Yeah.
And then they've also found dinosaur footprints and human footprints fossilized in the same layer.
Right.
Right? So meaning dragons have been around while we were around.
Right.
At some point. Because you've got even like King Arthur and all the dragon slayers and all that.
Yeah.
And there's fossil records that hint at creatures that match dragon description. Now, there is obviously, a lot of conspiracy with it too.
Oh yeah. This is our bread and butter.
Right. So suppressed discoveries. The Smithsonian's actually accused of losing giant skeletons and artifacts. Right.
Accused. We know for a fact that they've lost artifacts.
Right.
Lost artifacts because people have had giant skeletons, like humanoid,
like giants that we talked about before,
catalog them, and then the Smithsonian requested them, and then they'd never been seen again after that. So we know for a fact that the Smithsonian is infamous for losing, artifacts.
And then also, 1,800 reports of flying serpents that were just ignored. Explorers claimed to encounter massive winged reptiles. Dismissed. Mm-hmm. Photos from the early 1900s show unidentified dragon corpses. They're gone.
Yeah.
Mongolian caves said the house dragons sealed off. Anything that they have found that actually shows positive proof of dragons has just been gotten rid of. Governments restrict access to the cave systems. Museums hold unclassified remains.
Right.
The Vatican archives may even contain ancient dragon scrolls. We've had that conversation before.
Oh, yeah.
What was it, 56 miles of books in the Vatican? In the library? And even early church documents mention dragons, too.
Right.
And then they were removed from canon.
Yeah,
so
they decanonized all that stuff.
Yep. Conspiracies claim elites hide dragon evidence for power and control, which is the possibility of it may having magical powers, which goes back to my theory of, how magic comes in waves.
Right.
And then because magic is just a long waveform, and right now we're at the bottom of a wave, and eventually it'll come back up.
Right.
That's my theory. So, now there are a lot of biological possibilities that go along with it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Komodo dragons are very large reptiles.
Yeah, they're around right now.
And still around. Bombardier beetles, they spray hot chemicals, right? Which gives us acid dragons or even fire-breathing dragons.
Oh, yeah.
That gives us evidence that has the possibility of existing. It's not a precedent,
Right.
Spitting cobras, they shoot venom, right? Mm-hmm. And there's gliding snakes and lizards out there. So that could be primitive flight. Dimorphodon had dragon-like wings and teeth. Bone structures in some of the, dinosaurs, show that they could possibly have flight. Mm-hmm. Some animals store methane, flammable compounds inside of them. So there's a lot of things that we have now that point to things that dragons had. So it's not like everything that dragons had was completely made up. Even the animals now have those things, Yeah. So now there's a lot of even dragon slaying in the folklore.
Yeah, that's what we were talking.
So, you got St. George. He was a dragon-slaying saint, Beowulf dies fighting a dragon. Siegfried kills Fifnir, the Norse dragon hoarding gold. Japanese Sasanu defeats the 8-headed Arachi dragon. Babylonian Marduk slays sea dragon Tiamat. They're all throughout history. You have all these dragon slayers, dragon, and they're shockingly consistent throughout the world.
Right.
It's not just, this one guy did this or this one guy did that. It's all over,
And it seems always that the stories are similar.
Yeah.
Right? That's the other thing. So the descriptions are similar, and the stories of the interaction with it is always similar too. Like they're guarding caves, they're guarding treasure, they hoard treasure. Like the desolation of Smog. We were talking about how that dragon would gather all the gold up into his little chamber because that's what dragons do. So historically they have a lot of similarities.
And that's the thing is, why would they be so similar if they're not based on fact?
Right. If they're not based on a thing that existed.
Yeah.
Right. Like there really was a Smog somewhere that was hoarding the gold.
Now, as far as the connection to dinosaurs, there's even stories of, I can't remember which king it was, who his chariot was pulled by dragons. Mm-hmm. So even medieval, you're talking, they're saying dragons were around.
Right.
So, dragons look and behave like theropod dinosaurs, Flying dragons in all but name,
Pterosaurs.
Pterosaurs. Right. Some dragons, myth describes bipedal clawed lizards. Fossils and legends line up geographically.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs could have survived longer in the remote areas. I mean, we still have parts of Africa and those areas that aren't even explored yet. They're so dense that we can't even get in there and tell what's in there.
Right.
So, the Congo has living sauropods, possibly. I mean, Loch Ness Monster, possibly, saw, a sea dragon. Evidence of humans and dinosaurs coexisting has surfaced. So the possibility of dragons and man together is there.
They could have very well been a holdout from, where dinosaurs that weren't extinct, that were still roaming around at that time when early man interacted with them, and then those stories just carried over. So,
so then, dragons in, what do we got here? In forbidden text, the Book of Enoch describes monsters bred by fallen angels. Could that have been the dragons? Gnostic texts mention reptilian guardians of secret knowledge. I mean, because depending on which culture, dragons could be, evil, they could be good, but they were always knowledgeable.
Right.
They were always wise, no matter where you go. Dead Sea Scrolls include references to the giant serpents. Gospel of Thomas speaks symbolically of dragon and hidden truths. The Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh includes a dragon-like forest guardian. Jewish Kabbalah includes Rahab, which is the dragon of the deep. Yeah. There's so much evidence out there. Too much evidence and too much, coincidence to say that dragons were not real.
Right.
Obviously, though, we want to give you guys the information and let you come up with your own conclusion.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, there's so much here.
There's so much evidence.
And we're not even giving you all of it.
Right.
We're giving you, we have 10 on each, and we're giving you about 6 or 7.
The best ones.
We're sharing the best ones that we're looking at here. So it's, there's just so many, and a lot of the texts were banned and silenced,
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. So now ancient technology and dragon imagery, Hindu text, flying fire spewing machines, ancient art shows humans riding dragons, fire breathing could describe ancient engines or tech. Right. So that's a possibility of ancient technology, which is something that Bob and I also believe in, that there was technology long before planet got wiped out, started over.
From the last, the last iteration of people had technology that was still around, and then our generation of humans found this technology and still had it. So they,
You know what I just realized?
And
I just realized you put Mr. Howdy back up.
Yeah.
Taco got... I looked down and saw that Taco got scared by it. So Mr. Howdy's back up there. So, but yeah, so there's like serpent gods, Stone Age artwork that shows, look like helmet and wings with, dragons and stuff. So it's not just a little whimsical thing here, and it's not... How do I want to put this? We think of it as nothing, right? As folklore, and we're never given this much data in one place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like anything you read, it's just folklore. It's nothing,
Right.
But now here we have this pile of information for you guys. How can you not think that they didn't exist at some point? There's too much evidence, could they be descendants of the reptilian aliens that we always talk about?
Yeah, that live in the ocean or whatever. Maybe there's the hollow earth theory, that's where they all went to.
Tiamat, Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, you hear me talk about that a lot. I actually have a statue of Quetzalcoatl on my bookcase upstairs. Yeah.
And the Leviathan may represent alien lords. I mean, I mean, we're going out on the fringe here. You know, the extraterrestrial
That's
dragon
what
theory.
we always like to we stay in the safe harbor and we go to the fringe. So
right.
We kind of give you guys the whole gamut, so you can pick and choose where you think. We're not going to tell you. We're not going to pigeonhole you. You know, like some creators be like, "This is what you should think because this is blah blah." And we give you the whole story, and you can decide for yourself what you believe in.
Even some of the crop circles resemble dragons. You know, and we did. You know, we did crop circles way back.
Oh yeah,
way back. That was one of our first ones, I believe. You know.
Yeah.
So there is a whole pile. You know, of stuff, and this one kind of goes back. Dragons may be interdimensional or off-world entities. That kind of goes back to, you know, Sasquatch.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that.
So, but there is a whole pile of dragons. I encourage you guys to go down that rabbit hole. You know, we hope you enjoyed our discussion upon dragons today.
Yeah.
You know, we hope we got you thinking. So if you really dig the dragons, go out there and take a look because there's more to it than you could ever imagine.
Pretty outlandish. And you can go down the dragon rabbit hole into the weeds, and there's UFOs.
Go into the dragon cave instead of the rabbit hole.
Parallel universes, stargates. There's, you know, every fringe thing you can think of that exists.
Right. So it's all out there for you guys to find, and like we said, we encourage you. This one I'm going to lean into you a little bit, you know, because I'm a firm believer and they had to have existed.
Yeah, I
like with everything that we got here, you know, information-wise, they had to have existed. So, so go out there, do some research on your own, right? Follow us on Patreon, become a $5 member, and get those postcards every month. You know, we appreciate you joining us for the Dragons. Also, the T-shirts are on Shipley. Is that right? Printly.
Yeah.
Printly. There it is. T-shirts are on Printly. Sorry, I was almost hoping you brought that T-shirt down so we could check it out, but it's all good.
I forgot all about it.
But they're really good T-shirts this time. They're actually better than the Teespring T-shirts, and we are searchable. So go to Printly and search the Veritas Project. And you can get your, you know...
Yeah, they're nice. Their pricing's better. The shipping time is... whole universe is better.
Yeah, it was like, what, 2 weeks or something you had your shirt? Something like that?
Oh, not even.
Wasn't even 2 weeks?
I put in the order on a Friday, and Saturday afternoon I got the notice that it was being printed, and then Monday they shipped it.
Wow.
So it'll arrive
probably like within a week.
Yeah, in about a week.
That's pretty good. Because they print on demand, so...
Yeah.
So, also, once again, we're giving away that investigation bag. Mm-hmm. Send us your story. Whatever it is. UFO, cryptid, ghost, whatever. Send us your story. Lots of detail. We're going to make a podcast out of it. You don't have to tell it. You know, we don't have to give out your name. We'll make a podcast out of it. And the podcast that has the most views will win the paranormal bag. And it's a really nice leather bag. And it's got some good paranormal equipment in it. It's a good starter set for anyone. We estimated about a $200 value-ish. Because the bag itself is really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So there's that. Let's see, then Printly, and then the
lamp.
The lamp. So we still have half a room available if anybody's interested in coming out to that. It's $200 probably, and probably a little bit of change, probably like $215 or something like that. Basically, the room's already paid for. You're just paying for. I say half a room, but it's a room.
Yeah,
it's legit a room. The room itself, I don't know why they don't do it as two separate rooms. They do it as one room. It's two beds. There's a wall in between with a door that locks, and there's a bathroom on both ends.
Right.
So you'll have your own bathroom and everything. I don't understand why they do it as the way they do it. But somebody already has the room, but to help them offset the cost, we're going to help them get that other side booked.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. Oh, if you do have stories, Bob is the Real Veritas Project at gmail.com, and I'm investigator.todd.paranormal@gmail.com.
Yep.
Follow us on all the other social medias. Bob is R.S. Curtis on everything, and the Real Veritas Project.
Yep.
And I am Investigator Todd on everything. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Speaking of, how are we doing? Are we going to start uploading back to Spotify?
I haven't got the Spotify hookup yet.
Okay.
But I have done Instagram and the Facebook. So the Facebook page is updated and the Instagram is updated.
Awesome.
So
outstanding.
we're pushing our stuff out to both of them. So
right on. We'll get out there and keep growing. I noticed we did go up another 10 people this past week.
And our watch hours are staying at 650.
Really?
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
And the Book of Oberon is out of the window now.
Right.
So this is our new
stuff.
The new normal is going to be around 400 watch hours, which is
what we need to monetize.
That's money for us.
Yay! That's our goal. We're gonna retire from our jobs and just do this full time. So, anything else you can think of? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
Oh, our chat channel.
Oh, the Discord.
On Discord.
Yeah. Join the Discord.
Join the Discord. Go in there. You got questions? You can ask us questions on the Discord channel, or go in there. And we don't have a lot of people yet, but everybody from the team is on there. Yeah. So, jump in there and chit chat with us. So I think that'll about do it. Thank you guys for joining us on the Dragons Are Real podcast, because that's what I'm gonna call this one, because our dragons were real.
They had to have been.
They had to have been.
Right.
So. Thank you guys down here on TikTok that were watching. We'll stick around and answer any questions that you guys have. Thanks for all the likes, taps, comments, shares. And remember,
stay curious
and find the truth, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.